In this week's parasha, the Torah reacquaints us with Yitro, Moshe's father-in-law. The Torah says that Yitro heard everything that God did for Moshe and Israel, and came to meet up with Moshe, reuniting him with his wife Zipporah, and their two children, Gershom and Eliezer. The Torah then describes Yitro's coming to the Israelite encampment using the phrase, Vayavo Yitro. When his visit there ends, the Torah then describes Yitro's return to his land, Vayshalach Moshe et chotano, Vayelech lo el arzo. In the last two videos, I suggested that the difference between lech and bo is that lech refers to a tahalich, a process where one is changed by what one is about to undergo, while bo is referring to someone who stays the same, unaffected despite a seemingly life-changing experience. Using this to understand the psukim, this would imply that Yitro was unchanged by his encounter with the Israelites, yet when he went back home, he was about to go through a life-changing experience, such that he would become a different person. But isn't this counter to the simple understanding of the psukim? How can we say that Yitro was not changed by what he had experienced in the Israelite encampment? When he went back home, what changes would he undergo that eclipsed what he had experienced by his son-in-law? Perhaps so, we aren't accurately looking at the Torah's description of the chain of events. When the Torah tells us that Yitro came to the Israelite encampment, that was already in the middle of his story. First of all, Yitro knew Moshe, his son-in-law, and gave him his blessing when Moshe returned to Egypt. Yitro had even said to Moshe at the time, Lech l'shalom. Later on, Yitro heard of all that God did for Moshe and Israel, and decided he needed to be there with them. When Yitro came to the encampment, there was no process for him to undergo. He had already started the process of changing his inner being a long time ago and was very excited to visit. At this point, Yitro was merely continuing what he had already started and did not need to change who or what he was. Even during his stay with Israel, we can see that Yitro had not changed. To the contrary, it was he who changed Moshe and Am Yisrael. It was Yitro who introduced a whole organized system of adjudication to help address the cases that needed to be heard. So yes, the Torah's use of the word bo is accurate. Yitro left the same way that he came, excited but unchanged in his outlook, as he was already there. What did change within him, however, was when he went home. His experiences with his son-in-law and Israel solidified his convictions so that even after he left, the experiences did not fade away, nor did his enthusiasm dissipate. If anything, it continued to reverberate within him, and he succeeded in changing his family and surroundings by passing those feelings down to his descendants who supported Israel throughout the generations. Maybe this is the reason why we call this parasha Yitro after him. He had changed himself, he changed Am Yisrael by implanting the infrastructure for being able to receive the Torah, the law, and against all odds, he would also forever change his family and descendants, all in the service of God. Shabbat Shalom.